Hi everyone, welcome to Go Classes. In this session, we will solve GATE previous year questions of combinatorics. GATE PYQs, TIFR PYQs, CMI, ISI previous year questions from combinatorics we are going to discuss in this session. If you want to watch Go Classes complete discrete mathematics, all GATE PYQs, all summary lectures, all practice lectures, then you can watch this playlist on YouTube. You can search Go Classes discrete mathematics. This playlist will be there: discrete mathematics, GATE PYQs, summary lectures, and revision playlist. You can watch it. The link you can find in the pinned comment, also in the description. So let's start combinatorics, GATE, and many other exams previous year questions. Let me tell you that in this lecture, we are going to solve many counting related problems which follow a specific template. So all the problems that we will solve in this lecture, all of them, they follow a specific template, and that template is basically that we have a set of independent tasks. We need to complete all the tasks, so we will apply the product rule. Very simple. We have a set of independent tasks, means these tasks, they do not affect each other. All of them are independent. We need to complete all these tasks, task T1 and T2 and T3 and so on. So we will apply the product rule. So this is the specific template all our problems are going to follow in this lecture. Okay, so very simple. Now, before we start this session, let me recap product rule. In the previous lectures, we have already seen what is the product rule. This is a basic rule of counting. So let's do the recap of product rule. Then we will see this specific template, and then we are going to solve many counting related problems, many GATE PYQs. So let's see the product rule recap. We already know the product rule. Basically, we have a main task that we want to complete. So there is a task, or I can say that this is our main task. Let's call it task T. Now, to complete this task T, we need to do some subtask like task T1, task T2. Okay, so let's assume to complete this task T, we need to complete task T1 also, and we need to complete task T2 also. Okay, once we do task T1 and task T2, then our main task, this task T, that will be over. Okay, now to complete this task T1, let's assume there are n1 ways. Okay, and once we have done the task T1 in any way possible, because there are n1 ways to do this task T1, once this task T1 is done in any way, then there are n2 ways to complete the task T2. So remember here that for every way of doing task T1, there are n2 ways of doing task T2. So let me write it here that for every way of doing task T1, there are n2 ways to do task T2. Okay, very simple. So you can see that to complete this task T1, there are n1 ways. Now, once this task T1 is over in any of these n1 ways, then for each of these n1 ways of doing the task T1, let's assume that there are n2 ways to do task T2. So we can do this task T2 in n2 ways. Once this task T1 is over, then there are n2 ways to complete the task T2. Now, in this situation, how many ways are there to complete the main task T? So let me tell you that the number of ways to complete the main task, that will be n1 multiplied by n2. So this is called the product rule. This is a very simple rule. Remember, we have a main task that we want to complete, but to complete this main task, we need to complete task T1 and also task T2. So there is and here. We need to do task T1 and also we need to do task T2. Now, to complete task T1, there are n1 ways. Once this task T1 is done in any of these n1 ways, then there are n2 ways to complete the task T2. You can see for every way of doing T1, whatever n1 ways you do this task T1, you can see for every way of doing T1, there are n2 ways to do T2. So in this situation, how many ways are there to complete the main task? That will be n1 into n2. This is called the multiplication rule, or I can say this is called the product rule. Basically, because of this and this dot is coming, or I can say this multiplication is coming because of this and. We need to complete task T1, also we need to complete task T2. So this is the product rule. We have already seen this in the previous lectures many times, and a lot of questions we have solved using this product rule already in the previous lectures. Now let's move on. So you can see this product rule here. If something can happen in n1 ways, and no matter how the first thing happens, there are n2 ways to do the second thing, then the two things together can happen in n1 into n2 ways. Very simple. Now let's see a template which many counting related problems follow. So this template is followed by many counting related problems, and this template is very simple. That is, we have some independent task, and we need to complete all these tasks. We need to complete task T1 and T2 and T3 and so on. So we will apply the product rule. Very simple. So this template is actually very simple. We have a set of independent tasks. What is the meaning of independent task? Independent task means these tasks, they do not affect each other. Okay, for example, you are tossing a coin, also you are rolling a dice. Now in this situation, tell me one thing: this task T1 and this task T2, are they independent or not? Do they affect each other? When you toss this coin, the result can be either head or tail. Now, does it affect this task, rolling the dice? No, they are independent. Yes or no? Remember, how you do this task, that does not have any effect on how you do this task. They are completely independent. Okay, what output will come on this task, what outcome will come here, that outcome does not affect the outcome here. So very simple, these two tasks, these are basically independent, they do not affect each other. Very simple point. So this is the template that many counting related problems will follow. This is the template that we have a set of independent tasks, we need to do all the tasks T1 and T2 and T3 and so on. So we will apply the product rule. Very simple. Now, let's discuss this template basically. So you have a set of independent tasks. Let's assume you have task T1 and you need to complete task T2 and you need to complete task T3 and you need to complete task Tn. Okay, so these are the total n tasks that we have. And remember, these are independent tasks, means they do not affect each other. Okay, how you do this task, that has no effect on how you do this task. So these are independent tasks. Okay, they do not affect each other. Very simple, they are completely separate, or I can say they are completely independent tasks. Very simple. Okay, so now here you can see we need to complete task T1 and T2 and T3 and so on Tn. Let's assume that we can do this task T1 in n1 ways. And remember, this T1 and T2, they are fully independent. How you do this task T1, that has no effect on how you do this task T2. Correct? So you can see there are n1 ways to complete the task T1. There are n2 ways to complete the task T2. There are n3 ways to complete the task T3. Okay? And so on. Let's assume that there are n ways to complete the task Tn. Very simple. So in this situation, you can see we need to complete task T1 and T2 and T3 and so on Tn, and all of them are basically independent tasks. They do not affect each other. We need to complete all of them. So we will apply the product rule and tell me, to complete all these tasks, what will be the number of ways? So you can see that to do number of ways to do T1 and T2 and T3 and Tn. That will be what? We will multiply. So the answer will be n1 multiplied by n2 multiplied by and so on nn. Okay, so this will be the answer. Very simple. So remember, this is simple product rule that we are doing here. Because we have a set of independent tasks, we need to complete all these tasks T1 and T2 and T3 and so on. So here what we will do, we will apply the product rule, and the number of ways to complete all these tasks, that will be n1 into n2 into n3 into nn. Very simple. Here there is and here. We need to complete all these tasks. Very simple point. I hope you understood. So this template is followed by many counting related problems, and now we are going to solve a lot of questions based on this template. Okay, this is simple product rule. You might be thinking, sir, there is nothing new here. This is simple product rule. Yes, I also agree. This is simple product rule. But now we will see that there are many questions, many counting related questions which seem hard. Okay, you will be thinking that this is hard question, but actually that is simple product rule based question. Okay, so this is what I want to convey here, that many times what will happen, that the question will seem a little bit harder, but it is simple product rule based question. Okay, so you can see a lot of questions we are going to solve now, and all of them will follow the same template that we have discussed here, that we have a set of independent tasks, we need to complete all these tasks, so we will apply the product rule. That's it, very simple. Now let's move on. So you can see that in the previous lectures we have already seen what is the product rule. Many questions we have done, many different type of questions we have done using the product rule. But you can see in this session we are going to see, we are going to apply this product rule when we have a set of independent tasks. So remember, in any counting related question, if you see that there are some independent tasks and you need to complete all the tasks, then always think about product rule. Very simple. So remember, we have to perform multiple tasks that are completely independent of each other. Then in this situation, you always think about the product rule. Okay, very simple. So you can read, this is the statement. If a project can be decomposed into two independent tasks, we have two independent tasks and we want to complete both of these tasks. The first task we can do in n1 ways, the second task we can do in n2 ways, then this project we can do in n1 into n2 ways. Very simple. So two independent tasks we want to do, so the answer will be n1 into n2. So this is the product rule. Let's solve this question. How many 6-digit numbers, no leading zeros, are there? We want to find how many 6-digit numbers such that the first digit cannot be 0. Okay, so this is a very simple question. Total 6 digits we want. Now I can say that putting the first digit, let me call it task T1, this is task T2, task T3, task T4, task T5, and task T6. So we have total 6 tasks and we need to do all of them because we want 6-digit number. So we want to put first digit and second digit and third digit and so on. So we need to complete task T1 and task T2 and task T3 and so on. All these tasks we need to do. Very simple. Okay. Now tell me one thing here in this question. All these tasks, are they independent of each other, or is there any dependence? Do they depend on each other, or is there complete independence? Yes, they are independent of each other. Notice one thing, what you put here, for example, let me put 8 here. Now once this task T1 is over, you can see this task T1 has no effect on task T2. Okay, if I put 8 here, I can put 8 here, I can put 7 here, that is my choice, whatever I want. So you can see how I have done one of these tasks that does not affect other tasks. Very simple. All these 6 tasks, they are fully independent of each other. For example, this task T4, let me put 0 here. Now you can see this task T5 is independent of task T4. I can put 0, I can put 1, I can put 2, whatever I want, I can put. Very simple point. Okay, yes or no? So remember, all these 6 tasks here, these are fully independent of each other. They have no dependence here, right? Okay, how I do this task T1 has no effect on task T2. Okay, and how I do task T1 and T2, they have no effect on task T3. Very simple. Okay, all of them are independent, so very simple. Now you can see how many ways are there to complete the task T1. That is 9 ways. Okay, because remember, to complete the task T1, I can put from 1 to 9 any digit I can put, but I cannot put 0. Our 6-digit number cannot start with 0. So remember, there are 9 ways. I can put 1, I can put 2, I can put, and so on, 9. Any digit from 1 to 9 I can put. Let me put here, for example, 7 here. Now you can see this task T1 does not affect the task T2. To complete the task T2, I can put 7, I can put 0, I can put 1, anything I can put. So they are independent of each other. Very simple. Now how many ways are there to complete the task T2? There are 10 ways. I can put 0 to 9, any digit I can put. Okay, there are 10 ways, 0, 1, and so on, 9, any digit I can put here. How many ways are there to complete the task T3? Again, there are 10 ways. To complete all these tasks, you can see there are 10, 10, 10 ways, and to complete the task T1, there are 9 ways. So finally, you can see we have total 6 independent tasks, and we need to complete all of them. We need to complete T1 and T2 and T3 and so on, T6. Okay, so we are going to apply the product rule here, and the number of ways to complete all these tasks T1 and T2 and so on T6, that will be just multiply them. Okay, so the answer is going to be the final answer. The number of ways, that will be 9 into 10 to the power 5. That will be the answer. Very simple question. Let's move on. Let's solve this question. How many subsets are there of a set S of n elements? We have a set S of n elements and we want to find how many subsets we can create. Now, so we have this set S, and here we have total n elements A1, A2, A3, and so on, An. Okay. Now, what we want? We want to create subsets of this set S. How many subsets we can create? This is what we want to find. Now, let me tell you one thing. When you create the subset, of S, then for every element of S, you need to decide whether you want to take it in the subset or if you don't want to take it in the subset, right? Yes or no? For example, let me just take example that let's assume that this set S, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the set S, and I want to create subset of set S. Then remember, when I create subset, now to create subset, I need to decide for each element, I need to decide, should I take this in the subset or not? Should I take this in the subset or not? Yes or no? For every element, I need to decide. For example, if I create this subset 1, 3, 4. Now here what I have done, notice one thing. I've decided that I will take it. Okay, I will take it. I will take it. I will not take it. I will take it. I will take it. I will not take it. Yes or no? In this situation, I got this subset. I hope you understood. Very simple. So remember, if you have a set S of n elements and you want to create a subset, then remember, for every element of this set S, you need to decide whether you want to take that element in the subset or not. Okay, so every element of this set S has basically two choices. Either you will take it in the subset or you will not take it. Yes or no? Very simple point. Let me give you another example. Consider this situation that I don't take it, I don't take it, I don't take it, I take it, I don't take it. Then in this situation, which subset you are going to get? We are going to get this subset. You can see this is the subset you are going to get. Very simple point. Okay. So let's see another example. Consider this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's assume that I decide that, okay, I don't want to take it, I don't want to take it, I don't want to take it, don't want to take it, don't want to take it. So you can see for every element I'm deciding that I don't want to take. Then you can see I will get empty set. That is 5 empty set I will get. Yes or no? Very simple. Just let's take this example also. Let's assume I decide that, okay, I want to take all of them. Then in this situation, which subset I will get? In this situation, I will get this subset as itself. Okay, very simple point. I hope you understood. So remember, when I create the subset of any set, then for every element of this set, I need to decide, do I want to take this in the subset or not? Okay, so every element of set S has two choices when you create subset. Okay, from this set S, I want to create subset. I want to create subset of S. This is what I want to create. Then remember, every element has two choices. Do I want to take it or I don't want to take it? Okay, I want to take it or I don't want to take it. Do I want to take it or I don't want to take it? And so on. Do I want to take it or I don't want to take it? So you can see every element has two choices when you create the subset of this set S. Very simple. So finally, how many subset you can create? Remember here, each of these elements, they are independent of each other. Do you agree with me? If I want to take it or not, this A1 element, I want to take it or not, does it affect the decision of A2? Let me know. Basically, we have total n elements, and you just tell me a simple thing. What I do with this element A1, does it affect the element A3? No, they are fully independent of each other. What I do with element A2, I take it or not. What I do with this element A2, that does not affect the decision for AN, yes or no? So the decision for all of these elements, that is fully independent. Maybe I will take it, I will not take it, I will take it, yes or no? The point is very simple, that the decision that I take for all these elements, that is fully independent. They do not affect each other, yes or no? And every element has two choices. So finally, the number of subsets that I can create, that will be equal to 2 power n, 2 into 2 into 2 into and so on, 2 power n. Very simple. Okay. So here I can say that number of subsets of S, that will be equal to 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, total n times, that will be 2 power n, because for every element of this set S we have total two choices for every element. Either we will take it or we will not take it in the subset. We want to create a subset, so for every element we need to make a decision: do I want to take it, or do I or don't I don't want to take it. Okay, and remember, the decision for all these elements, that is independent, they do not affect each other. So very simple, that the total number of subset of this set S, that will be equal to 2 power n. I hope you understood. So here again you can notice, this is simple product rule. We have a set of independent tasks. Yes or no? These are the tasks. Remember, this is task for A1, means what is this task T1? This simply means what is the decision for A1 in the subset. I want to create a subset. In the subset, do I want to take A1 or I don't want A1? So that is your task T1. Here you have task T2, here you have task Tn, and they are independent of each other. What decision I take for A2, that does not affect the decision for An. Very simple. Okay, so these are the independent tasks, total n tasks we have. And remember one thing, that we need to do all these tasks, means we need to take decision for A1, and we need to take decision for A2 and A3 and An. For each element we need to take decision. The subset that I create, in that subset, do I want it or not? Do I want it or not? So for every element I need to take a decision. That is the reason I need to complete all these tasks. I will apply the product rule, and all these tasks, they are independent of each other, and every task has two ways. So finally I can say there are 2 power n subsets of this set S. Very simple. So this is the idea. I hope you understood. Let's solve GATE CS 2003 question. N couples are invited to a party with the condition that every husband should be accompanied by his wife. But, however, a wife need not be with her husband. The number of different gatherings possible at the party. So, this is a very simple question. Total, we have n couples. So, let's see the scenario of this question. You can see, total, we have n couples. These are the n couples. We have husband 1, wife 1, husband 2, wife 2, husband 3, wife 3, and so on, husband n, wife n. So remember, we have total n couples. So there are total 2n people here, because remember the number of couples, that is n. This is a couple, this is a couple, this is a couple. So total n couples we have, and total I can say 2n people we have. And now the question is saying that these n couples are invited to a party, and there is a condition that every husband should go with his wife. Means, in this party, if H2 is going to the party, then definitely W2 also should go. But remember, however, a wife need not go with her husband. So for example, if W3 goes to the party, then S3 may or may not go. Okay, but remember, if S3 goes to the party, then W3 must go to the party. So this is the condition that is given to you. Now the question is saying that what are the number of different gatherings that are possible at the party? Okay, now this is a very simple question actually. You can notice that here, look at this couple. This couple will take some decision. Okay, and this couple will take some decision. You tell me a simple point. These two tasks, are they independent or they are dependent? Let me know. They are dependent or independent? They are fully independent, yes or no? What decision will be taken by this couple, that decision does not affect the decision of this couple. Do you agree with me? So very simple point, that all these couples, they will take independent decisions. Okay, all of them, they are going to take independent decisions. Very simple. So these are independent tasks. This task, this task, this task, and so on, all of them are independent tasks. The decision taken by this couple does not affect the decision taken by this couple. Okay, all these couples will take independent decisions. Very simple. Now let's talk about this particular task, or I can say let's talk about this particular couple. What choices this couple has for the party? Remember one thing, that all these tasks, they are independent. the decision taken by this couple will be independent of the decision taken by this couple. So let's focus on this particular couple. What decisions, what choices this couple has? Let's see. You can notice that this H1, W1, what are the choices? Let's discuss the choices. So these are the choices that, these are the allowed choices that if this husband goes, then definitely wife should go. Do you agree with me? This is already given in the question that every husband should accompanied by his wife. So you can see that if this husband goes, one means goes to the party. Okay, remember what one means? One means goes to party, and zero means does not go to party. So here you can see if husband goes, then definitely wife should go. Okay, and you can see if husband does not go, then remember wife may or may not go, because this is already given that. However, a wife need not go with her husband. So you can see maybe this can happen that husband does not go but wife goes. That is fine, that is allowed. Yes or no? So this is allowed. I can say this is allowed, this is also allowed. Also you can notice one thing, maybe husband does not go, wife also does not go. Okay, this is also allowed, there is no violation here. But what is not allowed? You can see this is not allowed, that husband goes, wife does not go. This is not allowed. Okay, so remember, these are the choices that this couple has. This first couple has these three choices. Do you agree with me? Okay, so read the question carefully, that every husband should go with his wife, but a wife need not, a wife need not go with her husband. So you can see that if husband goes, then definitely wife should go. But if the wife is going, then husband may or may not go. Okay, so you can see, or maybe both of them they decide that we don't want to go. H1, W1, both of them they are deciding that we don't want to go. So basically these are the three choices for this couple. For the first couple there are three choices. Yes or no? Now you tell me one thing. Let's assume that couple 1 decides one of these decisions. Then does it affect the couple 2 decisions? No, it does not affect. Yes or no? So these are fully independent events. Okay, so let's see that this, you can see the decision taken by this couple, and the decision taken by this couple, the decision taken by this couple, and the decision taken by this couple. These are independent decisions. These are independent decisions, or I can say these are the independent tasks. Okay, so very simple. So I can say this couple will take some decision. This couple is going to take some decision. So let's call it decision 1, or I can say task 1. Okay, and this couple will also take some decision. Let's call it decision 2, decision N, or I can say this is the task N. Very simple point. So these are independent decisions, and you can see that this couple, the first couple has three choices. This first couple can decide what I want to do. Any of them, any of these three choices, the first couple can decide. Okay, so similarly, you can see that every couple has three choices. Yes or no? So you can see this couple has three choices. The next couple also has three choices. The next couple also has three choices. That's it. And so on. You can see this last couple, this also has three choices. Okay, and all these are independent decisions. All of them, they are fully independent decisions. So finally, tell me, what will be the total number of gatherings possible? Total number of ways to go to party for n couples. What that will be? That will be equal to 3 into 3 into 3. Total n couples are there. So that will be 3 power n. Okay, very simple. This is the answer. I hope you understood this question. This is a very simple question. So finally, the answer will be option B. Is this question clear to everyone? Let me know. This question has come in TIFR 2012. Also, this question has come in ISI 2015 exam. So the same question has come two times, once in TIFR, once in ISI. So let's solve this question. We have a set A with n elements. The number of ways we can choose an ordered pair B, C, where B, C are disjoint subsets of A. The same question has come in the TIFR also. You can see that we have this set we have, and A, B, these are the subset of this set, such that we want this A, B, these are the subset of this particular set, remember, and this A intersection B should be equal to phi, means A, B, they must be disjoint. Okay, remember, intersection of A, B is phi, that is same as A, B are disjoint. This simply means that A, B are disjoint. This is the definition of disjoint set. A, B are disjoint if their intersection is phi. Very simple. So let's solve it. We have this set A with n elements, and we want to find how many ordered pairs B, C are there, where B, C are disjoint subsets of A. So very simple. This is the set A with total n elements, A1, A2, A3, and so on, total n elements, An. And what we want? We want ordered pairs B, C, where B, C both are subsets of A. Remember, this B is also subset of A. This C is also subset of A. And also this B intersection C, that is empty, means they are disjoint. This simply means that B, C are disjoint. They have nothing common. No element is common. They are disjoint. Very simple. Now, how many this type of ordered pairs are there? This is the ordered pair that we want to create. And here B is a subset of A. This is B. And C is also subset of A. This is C. Okay, very simple. Now, you notice one thing, that B, C, they must be disjoint and they are subset of A. So, for every element of A, we need to make a decision. Will that element go to B? Will that element go to C? Yes or no? Here, when I create this B, C, because both are subset of A, so for every element of this A, we need to make a decision. Will that element, for example, this element A2, will it go to B? Will it go to C? Will it go to both? Will it go to none? So basically, we need to decide for this element A2. Similarly, we need to decide for element A1. We need to decide for element A3. So here, notice one thing, that for each element of this set A, we need to decide, will that element go to B? Will that element go to C? Will that element go to both? Will that element go to none? Okay, so, and all these decisions, these are independent of each other. Yes or no? What I decide for A1, that has no effect on what I decide for A2. Very simple. So the decision I take for A1, the decision I take for A2, the decision I take for A3, all these decisions, they are independent. Very simple. Now let's focus on a particular element and let's see how many choices this particular element has. Okay, so let's focus on this particular element, that is A1. Okay, for any particular element, for any element AI of set A. Okay, so let's see what are the choices this element AI has. Will it go to B? Will it go to C? Will it go to both? Will it go to none? So this is what we need to check. Okay, let's see. And remember one thing, we want that B, C should be disjoint. Okay, so let's see what are the choices this element AI has. Is it possible that AI belongs to B also, C also? Is it possible? Tell me. Let me know. This tick mark simply means that belongs. Tick mark simply means belongs, and cross means does not belong. Okay, tell me a simple point, that is it possible that AI belongs to B, C both? No, it is not possible, because B, C should be disjoint. Okay, so definitely this is not allowed. Yes or no? Very simple. Now you tell me one thing. Is it possible that this AI belongs to B but does not belong to C? Yes, that is fine. Yes or no? That is fine, because B, C should be disjoint. So they should not have anything common. So remember, this first choice is not there, that this element belongs to both b comma c. That is not possible. Okay, but remember, this element belongs to b, does not belong to c. That is fine, that is allowed. What about this, that this element does not belong to b, this element belongs to c? Yes, this is also allowed. And what about the last? This element does not belong to b, this element does not belong to c, means this particular element does not belong to both of them. That is also allowed, no problem. Yes or no? The very simple point is that b comma c should be disjoint, so no element should be common. There should be no element which belongs to both b comma c. So basically, this first choice, or I can say this element belongs to both b comma c, this is not allowed. The remaining three decisions this element ai can take, yes or no? These are the three choices for ai. These are the three choices for this element ai. This element ai can decide any of these three choices, any of these three decisions this element ai can take. I hope you understood. Okay, so remember, for every element basically there are three choices. So finally, what will be the number of ordered pairs b comma c I can create? Let me know. So very simple, this is a1, a2, and so on an. And what we want to create this b comma c, this type of ordered pairs I want to create, where both b comma c they are subset of a, and b comma c they are disjoint. Okay, their intersection is empty. So here, very simple point, that for every element I can make three choices. Yes or no? Every element has three choices. What are the three choices for every element? You can see that for any element x belonging to a, there are three choices. Three choices are there. What are those three choices? Let me write it here. These are the three choices, that x does not belong to b, x does not belong to c, x does not belong to any of them. That is allowed. Okay, or x belongs to b, x does not belong to c. That is also fine. Or finally, I can say x does not belong to b, x belongs to c. Okay, so you can see these are the three choices. For every element, these are the three choices. Finally, I can say that these number of ordered pairs b comma c that we can create, that will be equal to 3 power n. Okay, very simple, because every element of this set a has three choices. Okay, one more thing, remember, here we are asking the ordered pairs b comma c. What it simply means, consider this set a, that is like 1 2 3 4 5. Consider this set a, and let's assume now I want this b comma c, this ordered pair I want. Okay, then here remember one thing, that we need to count these two differently. Which two? For example, here if I put this is b, and let's assume this is c. Okay, so this should be counted, and also remember this should be counted. Okay, both of them are different. Is this point clear? Both of them, these are basically different, because we are asking the ordered pairs. This is the ordered pair. Okay, this is the ordered pair. So remember, this, like, this is b, this is c, this is b, this is c. Okay, so you can see these are actually different. We need to count them different. And remember, in our method we have counted them different, because here what will happen, see, to make this decision, here you can notice that these two we have counted separately already, because for to make this ordered pair, basically what we need to do, we need to make this decision that okay, one belongs to b, one does not belong to c, two belongs to b, sorry, two belongs to c, and two does not belong to b. And for the remaining, for three we will decide that okay, three does not belong to b, three does not belong to c, four does not belong to b, four does not belong to c, 5 does not belong to b, 5 does not belong to c. So is this point clear, that how we got this? Let me know. These are the decisions we have taken to get this ordered pair. Okay, is this point clear? And what are the decisions we have taken to get this ordered pair? Let's see. What are the decisions we have taken? We have taken these decisions, that okay, that 1 does not belong to B, but 1 belongs to C. 2 belongs to B, 2 does not belong to C. And what about the remaining elements? The remaining elements do not belong to B, comma C. For example, you can see that 3 does not belong to B, 3 does not belong to C, 4 does not belong to B, 4 does not belong to C, and 5 does not belong to B, 5 does not belong to C. Okay, so I hope you understood the point that I am saying. I am saying that for every element we need to make a decision. Do you agree with me? Okay, is this point clear? Let me know. So this is a very simple point. Again, I am just explaining a very simple point. I am explaining. Let's assume this is the set A. Okay, and we want to create this set B, comma C, this ordered pair. This ordered pair B, comma C we want to create. Now to create this ordered pair, remember one thing, that for every element we need to take a decision. Will it go to B? Will it go to C? Will it go to both? Will it go to none? Of course, remember, this element cannot go to both. For every element, I can say that it cannot go to both. So every element has three choices. Either it will go to B but not C, or it will go to C but not B, or it will go to none. Okay, so this is the simple point. Now assume that this decision I take that, okay, 1 goes to B, 1 does not go to C, 2 goes to B, 2 does not go to C, 3 does not go to B, 3 does not go to C, and let's assume that 4 goes to B, 4 does not go to C. If I make this decision, then remember what I will get, what ordered pair I will get. From this decision, I am going to get this ordered pair that B will be equal to 1, 2, 4. This will be B, and C will be equal to empty, and they are disjoint, no problem. Yes or no? B is also subset of A, C is also subset of A, and they are disjoint. So yes, this would be counted. Yes, we have counted. So did you notice that for every element of this set A, we are making a decision, and every element of this set A has three choices. What are the three choices? For every element of this set A, I can say it will go to B but not C, or it will go to C but not B, or it will go to none of them. So you can see, depending on these three choices for every element, if I make these decisions, then I will get this ordered pair B, comma C. And yes, this I should count because here B, comma C both are subset of A, and you can see both are disjoint because their intersection is phi. So yes, this would be counted. We have counted it. Okay. Now you notice one thing. If I do, what decisions should I take? Just tell me a simple point. You tell me what decisions should I take so that I get like this B and this C. Basically, let's assume that I want B equal to phi, and let's assume I want C equal to 1, 1 to 4. Okay, let's assume this is what I want. I want B equal to phi, and I want C equal to 1 to 4. So tell me, which decision should I take? For every element, I need to make a decision. Remember, what decision I will make? Very simple. I will make this decision that, okay, 1 does not belong to B, 1 belongs to C, 2 does not belong to B, 2 belongs to C, 3 does not belong to B, 3 does not belong to C, and 4 does not belong to B, 4 belongs to C. So when I make this decision, then I will get this ordered pair. Okay, so that's it. I hope you understood the point that for every element of this set A, we need to make a decision, and every element of this set A has three choices. Okay, and that's how you are going to get these ordered pairs B, comma C, such that B, comma C are disjoint. Okay, finally, the answer will be 3 power n, because every element of this set A has three choices. To create this type of ordered pair where B, comma C are disjoint, every element of this set A has three choices. So the number of such ordered pair B, comma C where B, comma C are subset of A and they are disjoint, that will be equal to 3 power n. Okay, that is the answer. Let's move on now. Let's solve this GATE 2021 question. Let me tell you, this question has come in GATE also, TIFR also, GATE Mechanical also, GATE Computer Science also. This question has come in the GATE two times. You can see GATE 1987, also GATE 2021. Also, this question has come in the CMI exam. So this same question has come total 5 times. 3 times in the GATE exam, 1 time in TIFR, and 1 time in CMI exam. Okay, here you can see this is the same question basically. In this question we have a set S, and we want to find these ordered pair A comma B, where A comma B both are subset of S, and also A must be subset of B. So basically this type of ordered pairs we want, where A is subset of B and both A comma B these are subset of this set S. So this type of ordered pairs we want to count. Okay, and this question has come in GATE Computer Science 2021, also GATE Computer Science 1987. Okay, also this question has come in GATE Mechanical 2023, TIFR 2010. Also this question has come in CMI 2023. So let's solve this question. Same question has come 5 times in different exams. 3 times this question has come in the GATE exam. So let's solve this question. We have a set X of size n. So there are total n elements in this set X. How many pairs of set A comma B are there such that A comma B both are subset of X and also A is subset of B? Okay, and remember we need ordered pairs. This is what we need. What we need. First, let's understand this question. Then we are going to solve it. Let's assume that this set X, this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 elements are there. Now, what we want here, you can see that n is equal to 4. Total 4 elements are there. Basically, we want A comma B. This type of ordered pairs we want, and the condition is already given to you that A is also subset of X, B is also subset of X, and there is another condition that A must be subset of B. These are the conditions that are given to us. So first you understand this question, that what this question is asking. Basically the question is simply saying that A should be subset of B and both A comma B should be subset of X. So for example, if I do like this, that okay, if I put this is the A, let's assume this is the A, then in this situation what can be B? Let me know what can be B in this situation. You can see that if A is set 1 comma 2, then definitely B must contain 1 comma 2 because A must be subset of B. So every element of A must be in B. So definitely 1 comma 2 should be here. But there can be something extra. For example, I can put 4 here, no problem. Yes or no? So this I should count. Okay. Also remember, for example, if I have 1 2 here, if I have 1 2 here, yes, that is also fine. This also I should count. But what is not allowed? For example, if I have 1 2 4 here, and if I have 1 2 here, now this is not allowed because here A is not a subset of B. Okay, very simple. So remember this type of pairs A comma B we want, where A comma B are subset of X and A is subset of B, means every element of A must be in the B. Every element of A must be element of B. Very simple. Okay, now let's see how many this type of pairs we can create. This is a very simple question. You have this set X, total n elements are there, A1, A2, A3, and so on, AN. Here remember, to create this type of pair I want to create, where A comma B both are subset of X and also A is subset of B. It's like this, that A should be subset of B and both are subset of X. Okay, this is the important here, that A should be subset of B. Means every element of A must be in B. Now, if I want to create this type of ordered pair, then for every element of X, I need to make a decision. For this element A1, I need to decide, will it go to A, will it go to B, will it go to both, will it go to none? Yes or no? For this element A2, I need to decide, will it go to A, will it go to B, will it go to both, will it go to none? So remember, for every element of X, I need to make a decision. For element A1, I need to make a decision. For element A2, I need to make a decision, and so on. And all these decisions, these are independent. What decision I take for A1, that is independent of what decision I take for A2. What decision I take for A1 comma A2, that is independent of what decision I take for A3. Yes or no? So remember, for every element of this set X, I need to make a decision. And remember, all these decisions, these are fully independent of each other. Yes or no? And we need to decide for each element. We need to decide for A1 also, A2 also, A3 also, and so on, AN also. So here we need to do this task and this task and this task and so on. So we will apply the product rule. Now we will see how many choices every task has. Okay, for this A1, how many choices I have. For this A2, how many choices I have. And then I will multiply the choices. Okay, that will give me how many ordered pairs A comma B I can create such that A is subset of B. Very simple. Now let's focus on a particular element of this set X. How many choices that element has? So you can see that for any element Y, okay, let's take any element Y you take. For any element Y belonging to X, what are the choices? Possible choices. What are the possible choices for any element of this set X? You can see, if I put this element in A, then A must be subset of B. So every element of A must be element of B. So remember, if I put this element in A, then definitely it must be in B. Do you agree with me? Okay, 1 simply means belongs. Okay, and 0 simply means not belong. So here you can see A must be subset of B. So if some element belongs to A, then that must belong to B. So you can see, if I put this element Y in A, then definitely it must be in B also. Okay. What is not allowed? Can anyone tell me what is not allowed? You can notice that this is not allowed, that this element Y belongs to A, but this does not belong to B. This is definitely not allowed because we want A to be subset of B. So every element of A must be element of B. For every element I can say, if it belongs to A, then definitely it must belong to B. So I can say this is not allowed. Yes or no? That this element belongs to A but not B. This is not allowed. Yes, this is allowed. What else is allowed? This particular element Y, this does not belong to A, this belongs to B. Yes, that is allowed. Yes or no? No problem. Because you know that, okay, this 1 comma 2, you know, this is subset of 1 2 3. So you can see that this 3, if you notice this 3 does not belong to A, but 3 belongs to B. So you can see this is definitely allowed, that this element Y does not belong to A, but this belongs to B. This is allowed. And what about this, that this Y does not belong to A comma B both? Yes, that is also fine. Okay, for example, look at the element 4. Element 4 does not belong to A, element 4 does not belong to B. So you can see these are the possible choices for this element Y. For every element of this set X, there are 3 possible choices. We have 3 possible choices for every element of this set X. Okay, so that's it. For this element 3 choices, for this element 3 choices, and so on. And remember, we need to make a decision for each of these elements. For each element of this set X, we need to decide, will it go to A, will it go to B, will it go to both, will it go to none. So finally we have seen that for every element of this set X, there are 3 possible choices. These are the 3 possible choices, because A must be subset of B, so every element of A must be in B. Okay, so you can see this is not a valid choice. Okay, for any element, remember, this is not a valid choice. It cannot happen that this element belongs to A but it does not belong to B, because we want A to be a subset of B. So that's it. For every element of this set X, we have three choices. So finally, how many this type of pairs A comma B we can create? That will be 3 power n. Okay, so that's it. This is the final answer. So the number of number of such pairs, that will be 3 power n. Okay, because every element has actually three choices. Every element of this set X has three choices. So the number of such pairs that we can create, that will be equal to 3 power n. Very simple question. I hope you understood. So you can see the same question has come in GATE Computer Science 2021. Here we have this set S of 10 elements, and we want to create this ordered pair A comma B such that A and B, they are subset of S, and also A is subset of B. This A must be subset of B. So tell me, how many this type of ordered pairs we can create? That will be equal to, every element of this set S has three choices. Okay, and there are total 10 elements in this set S. Every element has three choices, so 3 power 10. This will be the answer for this question. What about this TIFR 2010 question? The answer will be 3 power n. What about this GATE Mechanical 2023 question? We want pairs of set S comma T such that such that these S comma T, they are subset of 1 to 6. Okay, this is a set of 6 elements. So S comma T must be subset of this set. And also there is a condition that S is subset of T. This S, this must be subset of T. So you can see every element of this set has three choices. So finally, your answer will be what? Answer will be 3 power 6, because there are total 6 elements and every element has 3 choices. So the answer will be 3 power 6. And what is 3 power 6? You can calculate, that will be the answer. What about this GATE 1987 question? The question is saying that how many true inclusion relations are there of the form A subset of B? You might be thinking, sir, what is the meaning of true inclusion relations? Don't worry, this is already given in this question. Already the question is saying that A should be subset of B. This is called a true inclusion relation. Okay, so you might be thinking, sir, what is the meaning of true inclusion relation? So this terminology is already defined in the question. This is the definition given, that A is subset of B. So how many this type of relations such that A is subset of B are there, where A comma B are subset of this set S with n elements? The answer is very simple. For every element of this set S, we have three choices. So here the answer will be 3 power n. What is the answer for CMI 2023 question? How many elements are there in the following set? Basically, in this set, we have these ordered pair A comma B, such that A is subset of B and both are subset of n elements. You can see. So that's it. Every element here in this set, we have total n elements. Every element has three choices. So finally, how many such ordered pairs I can create? That will be 3 power n. So the answer will be option B. I hope you understood this question. Let's solve GATE Mechanical 2024 question. How many combinations of non-null set A, B, C are possible from the subset of 2, 3, 5, satisfying the condition that A is subset of B and B is subset of C? So this is GATE Mechanical 2024 question. Here actually this set is given to you. This set has only 3 elements, but we can generalize this. This is a very easy question. First, we can solve it in the generalized way. Okay, so let's assume that we have total n elements. Let's assume we have a set S with total n elements, A1, A2, and so on to an. Okay, this is the set S. Now the question is saying that we want combination of non-null set A, B, C. This is what we want. We want combination of non-null set A, B, C. Okay, so remember this combination we want A, B, C, such that they must be non-null. A should not be equal to 5. B should not be equal to 5 and C should not be equal to 5. This condition is already given to you, that they should be non-null. Also, the another thing is they must be subset of this set. Okay, so this is our set S. So here you can see that A must be a subset of S, B must be a subset of S, and C must be a subset of S. This is also given to you. And now the question is also saying that there is a condition that A is subset of B. A must be subset of B and B must be subset of C. So this is also given to you. Okay, now let's solve this question. So let's assume that we have total n elements in this set S, and we want this combination A, B, C. This combination we want. Already the question is saying that, okay, A must be a subset of B, B must be a subset of C, and all of them, they must be a subset of S. Okay, and the question is saying that A, B, C, they must be non-null. So for now, first you don't worry about non-null. First you calculate total, and then we will minus when any of them is null. Okay, so remember, the question is actually saying that they should be, all of them should be non-null. Okay, so all of them should be non-null. Non-null A, B, C. This is what the question is asking. So actually what we will do to find non-null combinations, what we are going to do? First, we are going to find the total. Okay, the total combinations. How many total combinations are there? Forget about non-null. Okay, null comma non-null, all the combinations you find, minus those combinations where A or B or C is null. Okay, minus those combinations where A or B, A or B or C is null. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. Very simple point. Okay, so first let's focus on finding the total number of combinations. Then we will find those combinations where a comma b comma c, any of them is null. Okay, so let's focus on finding the total number of combinations. So let's find total number of combinations. Okay, to find the total number of combination, remember one thing here. We want A to be subset of B, B to be subset of C. Means every element of A must be in B and every element of B must be in C. Okay, this is the meaning of subset. A is subset of B. That simply means every element of A must be in B. Okay. Now you can see that if I want to create this type of ordered triple, or I can say if I want to create this type of combination, then for every element of this set S, we need to make a decision. For this element A1, I need to decide, will it go to A, will it go to B, will it go to C, will it go to two of them, will it go to none of them, will it go to all of them, yes or no? So for every element, we need to make a decision. For element A2 also, we need to decide, will it go to A, B, C, will it go to two of them, will it go to three of them, will it go to none of them, yes or no? So basically, for every element, we need to make a decision. And also remember one thing, the decision that I make for A1, that is independent of the decision that I make for A2, yes or no? Tell me one thing, once I have made some decision for A1, does it affect the decision for A2? No, it does not affect. Yes or no? They are fully independent. Okay, the decision that I make for any of these element, that does not affect the decision I make for other element. And for each of these elements, I need to make a decision. I need to make a decision for A1 and A2 and A3 and so on. So we need to apply the product rule. So we will find the number of choices for each element, and then these number of choices we will multiply. Very simple. We will apply the product rule. That will be the answer. So let's focus on what are the choices for each element. For a particular element, you find how many choices are there. Okay. So let's see here. Let's just focus on choices for a particular element. Okay, so you can see that for any element, let's assume you have some element x belonging to S. For any x belonging to S, what are the choices? What are the possible choices? So I will write the possible choices for any element x belonging to S. Okay, A, B, C. Very simple point, remember. A should be subset of B, B should be subset of C. So if this element X belongs to A, then definitely this element should belong to B, this element should belong to C. Yes or no? Because every element of A must be in B, every element of B must be in C. So remember, if this element X belongs to this set A, then definitely it must belong to B, comma C both. Okay, yes or no? So you can easily notice that this is not allowed, that okay, you have 1, 0, 1. This is not allowed. Correct? Because if I do this, if X belongs to A, X does not belong to B, then A cannot be subset of B. So definitely this is not allowed. Okay, so you can see this choice is definitely allowed. Okay, what else is allowed? This X does not belong to A. If this belongs to B, then this should belong to C because B is subset of C. So every element of B must be part of C. Yes or no? So you can see that this is also allowed. This is a possible choice. What is another possible choice? This element X does not belong to A. This does not belong to B. Yes, this belongs to C. That is fine. This is allowed. Yes or no? And you can see this element X does not belong to any of them. That is also allowed. Very simple. Okay, so you can see, remember, right now we are finding the total number of combinations. Okay, first we will find the total number of combinations, then we will find non-null combinations. Okay, for now, don't worry about the non-null combinations. First, we will find what are the total number of combinations, then we will remove the combinations where A or B or C are null. Okay, so you can see that every element of this set S has the total four choices. These are the total four choices. Do you agree with me? These are the four choices for each element belonging to set S. Very simple. Okay, only these are the valid choices. That's it. Because A must be subset of B, B must be subset of C. So that's it. So every element has four choices. So what will be the total number of this type of combination A comma B comma C, where A is subset of B, B is subset of C, and all of them are subset of S? So tell me the total number of combination, that will be equal to 4 into 4 into, and so on 4, that will be equal to 4 power n, because every element of set S has total 4 choices. So total number of combinations a comma b comma c that I can create, that will be equal to 4 power n. Okay, very easy. These are the total number of combinations that we have found. Now let's find those combinations where a or b or c is null. Okay, yes or no? Now we are going to find those combinations where a or b or c is null. Here a simple observation you can make, that is, if a is not null, is it possible b comma c can be null? Tell me. If a is not null, if a has at least one element, is it possible b comma c can be null? No, they cannot be null, because a is subset of b comma c. So you can see, if a has at least one element, then b comma c also have at least one element. Okay, so very simple observation you can make here. Okay, just make this observation. Simple observation you make, that if a is not null, if a is not null, then automatically b comma c will be not null. Okay, so when is it possible that at least one of them is null? Can anyone tell me? When is it possible that at least one of them is null? A or B or C, at least one of them is null. When is it possible? It is possible only if A is null. Yes or no? Do you agree with me? Okay, because remember, if A is not null, then definitely B comma C cannot be null. So when is it possible that at least one of them will be null? So here I can say that this is another observation you can make, that the only way A or B or C, at least one of them will be null, that is when A is null. Okay, yes or no? Only way at least one of A comma B comma C is null is when A is null. Okay, only way at least, I can say only way at least one of them is null is when A is null. Okay, so remember, if I want to find those combinations where at least one of them is null, then simply I can find those combinations where A is null. Okay, yes or no? So basically, those combinations where A comma B comma C is null, A or B or C is null, that is same as A is null. Okay, do you agree? A very simple observation. Basically, this statement and this statement, they are basically same. They are basically equivalent. At least one of them is null, that is same as A is null. Okay, so basically we need to find when A is null. So already you consider that A is null. So this type of combinations we need to find that, okay, A is already null, A is null, and B is subset of C. Okay, now tell me how many such combinations will be there? It's very simple. Remember, A is already fixed that A is null, so no element can belong to A. But this condition is that this condition is there, that B should be subset of A, B should be subset of C. So now you can see that for every element of S, how many choices are there? Now here I can say that for every X belonging to S, how many choices are there? What are the possible choices? Okay, so let's see the possible choices. You can see, forget about A because A is already empty. So for any element of this set S, I can say that it will not belong to A. Okay, so forget about A, just focus on B comma C. So what are the choices this element X has? You can see, if this element belongs to A, B, then this will belong to C also. Okay, so this is a choice. If this does not belong to B, then this may belong to C, or this may not belong to both of them. Yes or no? So I can say there are three choices for each element. Do you agree with me? When A is null, then there are total three choices. I hope you understood. Okay, so that's it. Finally, I can say that when A is null, then here I can say that every element of S has three choice. Every element of S has three choices. Okay, so So I can say number of combinations. How many such combinations will be there? That will be equal to 3 power n combinations. Okay, yes or no? These many combinations will be there where A is null, or I can say these many combinations are there where at least one of them is null. Okay, so these many combinations are there. I hope you understood. So that's it. Total number of combinations we have already found, that was 4 power n. Okay, so desired combinations will be equal to what? I can say non-null combinations will be equal to what? Non-null combinations, that will be equal to total number of combinations that we have already found, that was 4 power n, minus when A is null, when A or B or C is null, and that is same as when A is null, that is same as when A is null. And how many? When A is null, then how many? That will be equal to 3 power n. Okay, so the final answer, that will be 4 power n minus 3 power n. So non-null combinations, that will be equal to 4 power n minus 3 power n. This will be the final answer for this question. I hope you understood. Okay, is this clear to everyone? Let me know. This question is crystal clear to everyone. So, what will be the answer for this GATE Mechanical 2024 question? So, the answer will be 4 power n minus 3 power n. The answer is this. Answer is 4 power n minus 3 power n. Here you can see that n value, that is equal to 3. Okay, n value equal to 3, because here the set has only 3 elements. So here n value is equal to 3. Okay, so what will be the final answer? That will be 4 power 3 minus 3 power 3. 4 power 3 minus 3 power 3, if you calculate, that will be 37. Actually, in this question, no option is correct, and this was a marks to all question. Okay, in 2024 mechanical, this was a marks to all question. This was marks to all, MTA. Actually, the answer will be 37. The answer is this. 37 is the answer. Okay, is this point clear? Please tell me. So very simple. I hope you understood this question. Again, I am telling you briefly. Basically, we want to find the combination, the non-null combinations, such that A is subset of B, B is subset of C. So here what we will do, forget about non-null. First you find the total number of combinations. If you want to find the total number of combinations, that then every element has total 4 choices. Yes or no? Okay. So the total number of combinations will be 4 power n minus you remove when at least one of them is null. Either A is null or B is null or C is null. So remember, at least one of them is null. That will happen when A is null. Okay, A or B or C, at least one of them is null. That is same as when A is null, because if A is not null, then B comma C cannot be null, because A is subset of B, B is subset of C. So remember, at least one of them is null. That is same as when A is null. And when A is null, then in that case every element has only two choices, sorry, three choices. When A is null, then every element has three choices. Okay, so I can say 4 power n minus 3 power n, that will be the answer for this question. I hope you understood. Let's solve this question from Stack Overflow. From Stack Exchange, I have taken this question. Counting the ordered pairs A comma B, where A comma B, these are subset of S, and A is proper subset of B. Already we have done this type of question, but now there is a proper subset here, that A must be proper subset of B. So there is small difference here. Remember, in the same question, if I remove this proper word, then what will be the answer? Let me remove the proper word here. So if I remove this proper word, then you already know the answer. That will be 3 power n. We have already seen this. Okay. So in this situation, the answer will be 3 power n, because every element has three choices. So this will be the answer. Okay, basically this question has become like a comma b, this type of ordered pairs we want such that a must be a subset of b. A must be a subset of b and both must be subset of S. So this question is already a gate question that we have done already. So the answer was 3 power n. But now the question is talking about proper subset. Okay, so let's find this. We can quickly find this. You have a set S which has total n elements a1, a2, a3, and so on an. Okay, and what we want? We want this type of set a comma b. The condition is given that a must be a subset of b and both must be subset of S. Okay, but there is a condition here that a must be proper subset of b. A must be proper subset of b. So to find the proper subset, this is the condition that is given to you, that a must be a proper subset of b. So remember, to find the proper subset, or I can say to find this, I can like this. This is the desired. Desired is proper subset is desired. This is the desired. So that will be equal to what? That will be equal to total minus undesired. Okay, yes or no? Total minus undesired. When I say total, then simply I am talking about a subset of b. Means you forget about proper word. Okay, see, the question is asking proper subset. The question is asking this proper subset. What you can do, you can first find a subset of b. Forget about proper or not. Basically you find the total number of subset. Then what will be the undesired cases? The undesired cases will happen when a is equal to b. Okay, do you agree with me? When a is equal to b, that will be the undesired case. Because please note a very simple thing, you note that for any set, how many non-proper subsets are there? Can anyone tell me? What is the definition of proper subset? Proper subset of S, that simply means any subset other than S. Proper subset of S. What is the definition here? When you say proper subset of S, that is basically any subset other than S. Any subset other than S. Other than S itself. Yes or no? So remember, for any set, for any set S, how many improper subsets are there? Let me know. How many improper subsets are there? Tell me. Let me know. How many improper subsets will be there? That will be equal to 1. That will be S itself. Yes or no? That will be S itself. I hope you understood. So S is the improper subset of S. Every other subset other than S, every other subset is proper subset. So very simple point here, I am saying that we want proper subset. A should be proper subset of B, then that will be equal to total. Total means A is subset of B, forget about proper. Just find these combinations, these ordered pair where A is subset of B. That we have already seen, that will be 3 power n. This we already know the answer. Okay, minus total minus undesired. What are undesired? Undesired means A is equal to B. When A is equal to B, that will be undesired. I hope you understood. Okay, so now let's see what will be the total and what will be undesired. Then we can find the desired. So tell me, you first you find the total A comma B combinations, or I can say total A comma B pairs with age subset of B. Means forget about the proper word, forget about it. You focus on this subset. This means subset. Okay, so tell me total how many pairs you can create a comma b where a is subset of b, that will be equal to 3 power n. Yes or no? So that will be 3 power n. We have already seen because every element has three choices. Okay, what are the choices for every element? Let me know. For any element x belonging to S, what are the choices? The choices will be these. You can see a comma b. These will be the choices that A must be subset of B. So every element of A must be in B. Yes or no? So if element belongs to A, then this must belong to B. If this element does not belong to A, it may belong to B or it may not belong to B. Okay, so only three valid choices are there. These are the three possible choices for each element. There are total n elements, so 3 power n, these many pairs will be there. Okay, when we are finding the subset. Now let's find the undesired cases. What are the undesired cases? Let me know. Undesired cases. Undesired cases simply means improper subset. Improper subsets. Okay, and remember that simply means A is equal to B. Okay, A is equal to B. So you tell me how many this type of pairs I can create. These pairs I want, A comma B pairs I want such that A is equal to B. Can anyone tell me? A is equal to B. So let me know how many this type of pairs I can create, A comma B. This type of pairs, how many I can create such that A should be same as B. Now every element has two choices. Either it will belong to both or it will belong to none. Yes or no? Okay, so remember that will be equal to 2 power n. Very simple. Every element has two choices. What are the two choices for every element? You can easily see that for every element there are two choices. For every x belonging to S, there are two possible choices. What are the two possible choices? The two possible choices are that A comma B, either this element will belong to both of them or it will belong to none of them. Yes or no? Because A must be equal to B, they must be same. So that is the reason I can say every element has two choices. So it will be 2 power n. Okay, now you can find the final answer. So I can say this is the proper subset. Proper subset A comma B pairs, that will be equal to total 3 power n minus 2 power n. Okay, 3 power n where you are finding A is subset of B, and 2 power n when you are finding A is equal to B. Okay, then you will get the proper subset. I hope you understood. It's like this. If you want proper subset, that will be equal to, if you want this proper subset, that will be equal to, you find how many subsets are there minus when A is equal to B. Okay, so this is a simple note that you can notice. Very simple. I hope you understood. So the answer will be 3 power n minus 2 power n. That will be the answer for this question. Okay, so for this question the answer is 3 power n minus 2 power n. I hope you understood this question from Stack Exchange website. Let's solve this question. Number of ordered three tuples of subsets such that intersection of any two is empty. The question is saying we want number of ordered three tuples. This type of pairs I want, or I can say this type of ordered triples I want, A, B, C, where the intersection of any two of them is empty. Means A intersection B is empty, B intersection C is empty, C intersection A is empty. So what will be the answer for this question? Again, very simple question. We have a set S which has total n elements, A1, A2, and so on an. And the question is saying that we want this type of triples, ordered triples, we want A, B, C. The question is saying that they are mutually disjoint. Okay, A comma B comma C, they are mutually disjoint. Means if you take intersection of any two of them, then that will be empty. They are mutually disjoint. Very simple. And they are subset of S. Remember, this A comma B comma C, they are subset of S. I hope you understood this question. So tell me, how many this type of ordered triples I can create? Very simple. For each element of this set S, you find how many choices are there. For every element of this set S, we need to make a decision will this element go to one of them, two of them, three of them, or none of them? Yes or no? So for every element we need to decide, and remember the decision for each element that is independent of the other element. What I decide for element a1, that has no effect on what I decide for element a2. So they are fully independent. And remember, we need to decide for each element, we need to decide for a1 and a2 and so on. And so we will apply the product rule and we will multiply the number of choices for each element. That will be our answer. So here you can see that for any element x belonging to S, what are the possible and I can say valid choices? Possible valid choices. What are those? The question is very simple, that A, comma B, comma C, they must be mutually disjoint. Okay, so there should be no element which is common between A comma B, or A comma C, or B comma C. Okay, very simple. So let's see what are the possible valid choices A comma B comma C for this element X of this element of this set S. Okay, for any element we are finding what are the possible valid choices. So you can see this is a valid choice, that this element X belongs to A, this does not belong to B, this does not belong to C. That is fine, this is allowed. Yes or no? Okay, also this is also fine, this is also allowed. Also this is also fine, this is also allowed. And this X does not belong to any of them, that is also allowed. Only these are the possible valid choices. Yes or no? So there are four valid choices for any element. That's it. Every element of this set S has four valid choices. So the answer will be, how many such ordered triples I can create? That will be 4 power n. Okay, is this clear? So answer will be 4 power n such ordered triples I can create. Very simple question. So for this question, what the cardinality of this set S? That will be 4 power n. I hope you understood this. Let's solve this question. Set A is 1, 2, 3, 4. How many ordered pairs P comma Q we can form such that P is subset of A, Q is subset of A, both are subset of A, and their intersection has exactly one element, not more than one, not less than one. Exactly one element should be there in the intersection of P comma Q. So focus here that P comma Q intersection has exactly one element. It is like this, that the size of P intersection Q, P intersection Q, that will be equal to 1. Okay, there should be exactly one common element in P comma Q, not more than one, not less than one. This is the question. Okay, so let's solve it. You can easily see that I want this type of ordered pairs A, P comma Q. P comma Q I want. Okay, and the question is saying that the size of P intersection Q, that should be equal to 1. Okay, so here you need to decide first which element will be common. Yes or no? Because exactly one element will be common in P comma Q. Yes or no? So first you decide which element will be common. So there are total four elements. You choose one of them, and that element you make it common. Are you getting my point? I am saying that P intersection Q, if you find, then there should be exactly one common element. P intersection Q size is 1. So you can see basically P intersection Q, that will have something like X, something like this. Okay, basically one element will be there. Now this one element, either this can be 1, or this can be 2, or this can be 3, or this can be 4. Yes or no? So you first decide which element will be common. Which one element will be common, which one element will be common. Okay, so you can see that the number of such pairs. Okay, so you can see, to create this is what we are going to do. That first you find 4C1. Okay, you choose basically element Y. Is this clear? What you do, what you choose, you choose this element Y. This element Y you choose. Okay, now this element will be common in P comma Q. From these four elements we are choosing one element, that element will be common in P comma Q. What about the remaining three elements? Can you tell me? The remaining three elements, what about them? For the remaining three elements, remember, it is not possible that they can belong to both P comma Q. Yes or no? For the remaining three elements, what are the choices? For remaining elements, what are the choices? Let me know. For remaining elements, you can see that Like for example, assume that this 2 we are choosing as y. Okay, means p comma q have this element 2 common. Okay, this 2 is the common element. Now what about the remaining elements 1, 3, 4? You can see for the remaining elements how many choices are there. For remaining elements I am finding what are the choices. You can see p comma q, they do not belong to both of them, that is fine. They belong to one of them, that is fine. But they cannot belong to both of them, yes or no? For the remaining elements I can say that it is not possible that they can belong to both p comma q, because there should be exactly one common element, not more than one, not less than one. So I can say for the remaining elements there are three choices each. So for the remaining elements I can say 3 into 3 into 3. This will be the answer. I hope you understood. Okay, so for this question, remember the final answer is 4 multiplied by 3 power 3. This is the answer. Can you generalize this question? Let's generalize. Instead of this 4 elements, if you have total n elements, then what will be the final answer? Let's generalize this. So let's assume that this set A has total n elements. Okay, now what will be the answer? So you can easily see that first we are going to choose one element. From n elements, we will choose one element. This element we are choosing for P intersection Q. Okay, this element we have chosen for P intersection Q. And what about the remaining elements? For remaining elements, each element has three choices. Okay, so this will be 3 power n minus 1. So that's it. The answer will be n multiplied by 3 power n minus 1. This will be the final answer. Okay. Now in the same question, if you have total n elements and here I mention exactly 2 elements are common, then what will happen? I say that exactly 2 elements are common. What about this variation? Contains exactly 2 elements. Let me know. For this question, what is going to be the answer? Very simple. P comma Q intersection has 2 elements. This P intersection Q, this basically has 2 elements. One element, let's call it X, one element, let's call it Y. Okay, so first you decide which 2 elements are common, yes or no? So the answer is very simple. From n elements, you choose 2 elements for P intersection Q. Okay, these 2 elements you put in P intersection Q. Is this clear? Now, very simple, for the remaining elements, again you have three choices each. So 3 power n minus 2. This is for remaining elements. I hope you understood. Very simple question. Let's move on now. Let's solve this question. The total number of unordered pairs of disjoint subsets of S. Basically, you have a set S and we want unordered pairs of disjoint subsets of S. If you remember, so far we have done ordered pairs of disjoint subsets. Yes or no? So if I remove this basically if I make it ordered, now you already know the answer. It is like this, that this is what we want, ordered pairs we want, A comma B, this type of ordered pairs we want, such that A intersection B that is equal to phi. They should be disjoint. A intersection B is phi, means there is nothing common, no element is common. So if I want to ask you ordered pairs, then the answer you already know, that is 3 power n, because every element has three choices. What are the three choices? For every element of set S, I can say it can belong to A, not belong to B, or does not belong to A, belongs to B, or does not belong to both of them. Yes or no? So you can see that the answer will be 3 power n for this question. But now the question is asking, I want unordered pairs of disjoint subsets. First of all, what is the difference between ordered pairs and between unordered pairs? You can see, if I ask you ordered pairs of disjoint subsets, then here you can notice that if I do this, that for example, let's assume this I put. Now remember, this will be different. This will be different from 2 comma 1. Do you agree? They will be different, because if I ask you ordered pairs, then in this situation, this ordered pair and this ordered pair, they are different. But when I ask you unordered pairs, of disjoint subsets, then remember here what will happen, because I am asking unordered pairs. So in this situation, if I do this 1 comma 2, now this will be same as 2 comma 1. Okay, is this clear? So here you can see 1 comma 2 or this 2 comma 1, these are basically same. So this is the point of unordered pairs of disjoint subsets. Now let's solve this question. Actually, this is very easy to solve. Basically, you have a set S which has total n elements a1, a2, and so on an. Okay. Then in this situation, you can see that first you find the ordered pairs. Okay, first what you do, you find the number of ordered pairs, because this we have already seen in this session already many times. Yes or no? A comma B ordered pairs you find. Ordered pairs. Where A intersection B is empty set. Means they are disjoint. Okay. So what you do, you find the ordered pairs. How many ordered pairs are there? That is very simple. That is 3 power n, that you already know. Every element has three choices. What are the three choices for any element? For example, this element A2 has three choices. These three choices are like this. This A2 belongs to A, does not belong to B, or A2 belongs to B, A2 does not belong to A, or A2 does not belong to both of them. So you can see that every element of this set S has three choices. So if I ask you how many ordered pairs A comma B will be there, the answer will be 3 power n. But notice that if I ask you unordered pairs, what you need to do? Tell me. Unordered pairs. If I ask you unordered pairs, then remember very simple point that because of ordered pairs, we have counted same unordered pair two times. Okay, this simple observation you need to make. Notice one thing that, for example, consider this, that you have 1, you have 2. Let's assume this is A and this is B. Now you notice one thing. If you have this A comma B, then when you are finding ordered pairs, A comma B, okay, or I can say when you are finding ordered pairs X comma Y, then here these are different. If I write like A comma B, and if I write B comma A, they will be different. Do you agree with me? They will be different. But notice, if I ask you unordered pairs, if I ask unordered, there is no order here. Okay, there is no order here. If I ask you unordered pairs, now in this situation, these two will become same. Yes or no? These two, they will become same in unordered pairs. Okay, yes or no? I hope you understood this. So remember, this and this, they will become same from this point of view. I hope you understood this point. Is this point clear? Let me know. So very simple, that we need to do half. Yes or no? We need to do half. Very simple, because remember, if you have this is A, this is B, then when you are finding ordered pairs X comma Y, then A comma B is different from B comma A. But remember, from unordered pairs, because these are unordered, so order does not matter. So remember, this A comma B, B comma A, they will be considered same. So what you need to do? You just need to do half of it. But there is one thing here. What is that? There is one ordered pair which we have counted only one time. See, this ordered pair we have counted two times. In the When you are finding ordered pairs, then this you have counted two times. One time A comma B, one time B comma A. So remember, look at this. This you have counted two times here. Okay, but here you need to count it one. This is what I am saying. So look at this. Let me just write like this, that this you have counted two times here, and this you have counted only one time here. You need to count only one time here. Okay, so you just tell me one thing. There is one particular pair A comma B which you have counted only one time. Every other pair you have counted two times here. Okay, this you have counted two times here. But there is one pair which you have counted only one time. That is phi comma phi. Okay, so let me tell you that when A is phi and B is phi, when you have this, then this you have counted When you are finding ordered pairs or when you are finding unordered pairs, this you have counted only one time only. In the ordered pairs also, this has been counted only one time. All the remaining have been counted two times, but this has been counted only one time. Okay, so finally the answer will be, how many unordered pairs will be there? That is very simple. From this 3 power n, you minus 1. Why I am doing this minus 1? This I am doing for 5 comma 5. Okay, for 5 comma 5 I am doing this minus 1. Then you divide by 2. Okay, but remember plus 1. Why I am doing this plus 1? For 5 comma 5. For 5 comma 5 I am doing this plus 1. So that's it. This is the answer for this question. I hope you understood. Okay, so remember, for this particular question, the answer will be 3 power n minus 1 divided by 2 plus 1. Why we are doing this minus? This we are doing for 5 comma 5. And again, why we are doing this plus 1? This we are doing for 5 comma 5. Okay, so this is going to be the answer. So that's it. We have done all the variations of this particular template. Basically, there is a template where you have set of independent tasks. We need to complete all the tasks, so we will apply the product rule. Now, based on this template, there are many questions in the GATE exam, TIFR, ISI, CMI. A lot of variations, a lot of questions are possible. Let me tell you, on the internet, whatever variation I found, I have already discussed in this session. There is no variation that I did not discuss in this session. Each and every variation that was possible, that I could found on the internet, in the different standard resources, I have already taken in this session, and we have done the complete analysis of this particular template where you have set of independent tasks. We need to do all these tasks, so we will apply the product rule. Okay, so I hope you loved this session. All these questions, let me tell you, many students, they find these questions very hard. Okay, but you are now expert of all these questions. Whatever variation they ask you in the GATE exam, in the future GATE exam, whatever variation they ask you, you easily can solve it. Okay, so thank you everyone. Share your feedback in the comments. I will read your feedback. This means a lot. It will motivate me to bring more and more such sessions to you. Okay, so thank you. Please like this session and please comment on this session. Comment your feedback. Thank you.